Well, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sascha Fahrbach. Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson has revealed that his country is in preliminary talks with France and the UK about possible cooperation in the field of nuclear weapons, a move that would have been politically unthinkable just a few years ago. Now, across Europe, from Berlin to Warsaw, leaders are questioning how long the continent can rely on the U.S. nuclear umbrella as Russia expands its war economy and Washington signals a more transactional approach to security. Joining us now to discuss it further is Eoin McNamara, researcher at the Finnish Institute of International Affairs. Good to have you back on TVP World.
Good morning.
So in this latest development, I mean, not so long ago, Sweden, a country that was considered neutral, now it's within very short order, has joined NATO. A lot of things are changing fast. So what practically do you find Sweden can do here, working with France and the UK, developing its own program? Is that possible? What's on the table here in your mind?
I mean, it harks back to, historically that there were some ambitions there in the 1940s, 1950s, 1960s in Sweden to develop its own program. But these ambitions are long gone. The US extended deterrence, that security umbrella, that nuclear umbrella that you mentioned, has been the ultimate deterrent in Europe for a very long time now. It is the backbone of NATO's deterrence, and if we can't rely on this anymore to secure Europe's northern perimeter, then we need to look at other options. I would emphasize that these are merely exploratory discussions, and there's lots of entangled issues when we think of the French deterrent and the UK deterrent potentially. So we wouldn't be exchanging like for like, but there's more I can say on that later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned also the UK and France, now also two capable countries in terms of nuclear ability. But I suppose the question here is, would that kind of, let's say, do they have the operational resources to really extend what they have to then protect the rest of what is that going to be? The European Union, only certain European allies. I suppose operationally and logistically, how feasible is any of this?
Yeah, that's certainly something that we would need to look at around this if we're talking about an independent European nuclear deterrent. Of course, the French deterrent is uniquely French. France doesn't share its nuclear weapons like the US has through NATO's nuclear sharing program, and it doesn't allow others into its command and control. The United Kingdom's nuclear deterrent to Trident, which is in fact leased from the United States, is very much linked to the US nuclear delivery system. So these are the kind of entangled issues I'm talking about, and we would need to see major shifts there if this extended deterrence is to be exactly that, extended to Sweden. And then we'd have to ask the question, would it just be Sweden, or would it be extended for other Nordic neighbours of Sweden, for Norway, for Denmark, for Finland, etc. So it's good these things are being discussed. It's good that questions around this are being open at this early stage, but technically, operationally and logistically, there are many complex matters to be sorted out.
Right, and also in the interim, I mean, is this, in your mind, something that is realistic in the sense that this is going to go ahead, or is this because of the reluctance of the United States? Is this a sort of, let's say, stratagem really to get the United States back into the game, or is this something the Europeans can really do here?
Well, I think the actions of the Trump administration over the past year in the United States have backed us into a corner to think about this. If we cannot rely on the United States for extended deterrence anymore, and remember, I mean, the best extended deterrence is when these weapons are not used and they keep our defense watertight against external aggression. It is a very efficient means of defense when it works. So kind of where the US to withdraw its security guarantees, leaving a vacuum there would be very, very dangerous for Europe regarding, conventional aggression, which of course we've seen Russia waged very brutally in Ukraine. So we can't really leave that vacuum open up. We have options, but those options involve tweaking, maybe not just tweaking, transforming the UK and the French deterrence, Europeanizing them, and indeed modernizing them and expanding these nuclear arsenals as well. So we're talking about a very big project potentially, and as I say, it's good that we're starting these conversations early.
Also, speaking of conversations, something that the German Chancellor just said on Thursday, addressing the German Parliament, let's say perhaps unusual words to some, what he said, I'm just quoting here, saying that we need to be more powerful, at least in part, if we ourselves learn to speak the language of power politics, if we ourselves become a European power. So the statement of the fact there, a German leader saying something like that, in your mind, what does that mean? And realistically, what will Germany's role be in all this? I mean, they're limited, they're not legally allowed actually to go ahead and make any nuclear weapons. So what is Germany's role in all this? And this kind of structure coming from the German Chancellor mean to you?
Yeah, I think when we look at the broader global non-proliferation agreements, you know, the NPT, the Non-Proliferation Treaty under the United Nations, I think extended deterrence is the way to go. But that, of course, means trusting your allies who hold these nuclear capabilities to deliver that deterrence on your behalf if you're a non-nuclear weapons power, like Germany, like Poland, like the Nordic countries. And of course, allied trust is going through a very rough period at the moment because, of course, we thought the United States would be the ultimate trustworthy ally. It's turning out that we're having difficulties in that regard. So, you know, with the good of nuclear non-proliferation in mind, I think extending our existing capabilities and modernizing them, I think that's a good approach under international law. For Germany specifically, always because of its history, squeamish around power politics and its role as a military leader in Europe. But we do need to see that different divisions of labor. Maybe, you know, France could be a major, you know, nuclear power. In Europe, taking charge of nuclear deterrence, and Germany could be a major conventional military power in Europe, leading conventional deterrence. So Germany is very, very important. It should be at the heart of European security matters. But, I mean, Germany is, you know, we're talking a lot of mid-tier powers here, the UK, France, Germany, and indeed Poland as well. Partnerships between these countries is vital, and strong, coherent military cooperation between them. So not just one leader, we're talking many leaders in Europe, or multiple leaders in Europe, if we're to bridge the power gap, if the Europeans are to do more and the US is doing less to secure the continent.
And also, as you said, you mentioned Poland there as well. I mean, this is also a country that has talked about this before, and Poland's current president, Mr. Nawrocki, even said this, I believe, towards the end of 2025, saying that nuclear deterrence is real, not abstract component of national security. I mean, here, this is a country that's going to be closer to the Russian border there. What could Poland's role be in all this? I mean, do you foresee any kind of also involvement? I mean, they're also very close in terms of looking at Scandinavian countries. There's more integration on the eastern flank. What would Poland's role be in all this, if any?
Yeah, the threat definitely needs to be real and credible for deterrence to be there. Because, of course, if our adversary, namely the Russian Federation in this regard, thinks the threat is not real and is not credible, then it will push forward with conventional aggression and push forward with hybrid aggression. So keeping our forces credible, keeping them modernized, and adapting arrangements forthwith is crucial in that regard. And of course, I refer back, when we look at all spectrums of deterrence, not just nuclear, but also conventional, and indeed deterrence of hybrid threats as well. There are divisions of labor there. Poland is a very important power in the logistics of European security and the logistics of NATO's northern and eastern flank. We've seen this in Ukraine as well. Poland was a key player, and that German-Polish cooperation in getting European and US weapons to the Ukrainian military to keep them on the battlefield. So every partner has a role here, and kind of fine-tuning that cooperation, finding the precise role and specializing in it. That's what these four powers I mentioned, the UK, France, Germany, and Poland, these four powers in Europe need to be looking at right now if they are to be the backbone of deterrence along the wider continent.
Just one last one really quickly before we end. As we move forward in the next few months, maybe a year or so, how realistic is a new common European nuclear deterrence?
Not too realistic in the short term, but as I say, it's crucial that we don't leave any vacuums open up if the United States is to withdraw its nuclear security guarantees. I still think that's unlikely, but we need backup options. And as I said, these problems are very entangled operationally, logistically, and there's many strategic, operational, and technical issues that need to be figured out. So, as usual, when I give these interviews, the time to have these conversations is now, and we need to see developments, because the more backup options you have, the more secure the European Union is going to be.
Right. So we have the words from NATO Secretary General Rutte said the other day, keep dreaming about defense of Europe being done by itself, but others seem to be perhaps challenging that assumption. Look, thanks so much for all that. Really always interesting with you. Eoin Micheál McNamara there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. That concludes World Talks, but stay right here on TVP World for more. Goodbye.